What are the after effects of riding extremely long distance on your Harley Sport Glide? I'll talk about it inside.
RevelatorAlf.
Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're enjoying the channel and the series of videos. Please like, share, subscribe, leave loads of comments below, and check out the website RevelatorAlf.com. So as you can see, I'm on the sofa here, chilling out, relaxing after my long distance endurance ride on the Harley Sport Glide, over 1,800 miles in 36 hours or less than 36 hours, on all sorts of A, B roads, motorways, city streets. I wanted to make this video to let you know about the recovery process of doing an extremely long distance ride or endurance ride on any bike, but also if you're doing it on a Harley as well. A lot of people would say it's a tough challenge, and it is a tough challenge. Possibly people don't realize how tough it is and how much you put your body through as well on any endurance challenge, not just this type of endurance challenge. But I think on this one, I pushed myself to the limit, to my limit. I'm getting older now. You can't increase your years and still maintain your level of fitness, maintain your level of physical strength. And you have to find ways to counteract that. And that's part of my process now. I was also trying to find lots of ways to counteract fatigue, stress, psychological factors, all this kind of stuff on these endurance rides. But what I've found since finishing the ride, that I'm still aching all over, joints, muscles, all over. My appetite has been erratic. My sleep patterns have been very erratic, which you would think I would sleep like a baby, but no, that hasn't been the case. I've found that I've got lots of numbness in my fingers, pins and needles in both left and right hands. It is getting better now, and we're 10 days past the event. So it is tough in this recovery process, possibly more so than in previous times. But as I say, I'm a little bit older now, and possibly age has taken its effect as well. I think one of the things that you got to really consider for any endurance ride, but especially on a Harley Davidson, is the comfort level, but also the vibrations as well, and the exposure to the elements. I wanted to do it on the stock bike, completely stock bike. I didn't want to have any kind of additional comforts. I didn't want to go for a comfort seat. I didn't want to go for a higher windshield or anything like that. That's not a bad idea. In fact, I probably should have done that in hindsight, but I wanted to test the stock configuration. A couple of questions came in and said, would you change anything in the future for any other endurance rides? Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would. But that's not to say that I couldn't still do everything that I've achieved on the Sport Glide as it is, a stock bike. It'd be absolutely fine. It's just that you've got to put up with the discomfort a little bit more. The seat in general was fine. You know, it can be ridden long distance, no doubt. I'm sure there are, you know, the Sundowner seat or the Salomon seat or any other seat, you know, may be more comfortable in those long distance rides. But it was absolutely fine. I think if you put your bum or the rear of you, the base of your spine, your coccyx, right up against the back of the seat, or almost sit on the back of the seat a little bit, halfway down, that helps a lot. You have to find the right position for that seating position for the long distance. But, you know, it is going to take its toll. There's no doubt. And it did. It has taken its toll on me. In fact, I've ridden my bike about 4 times since, every other day, I suppose. The first couple of days I didn't ride it at all. Only just literally, well, I suppose that's lying because I did ride it. I literally rode it to the shops and back again. But so, you know, I haven't ridden it as much as I normally would because I'm still recovering, really. And I think that's what you've got to factor in. You've got to factor in the bike, the ride comfort, the riding position for long distance rides, but also how you're going to be affected as well. Now, let's say if you're going on some kind of grand tour, well, you're not going to be doing the sort of mileage that I was doing, but you may do 500-600 miles in a day, 700 miles a day, something like that. But what then you have to do is do consecutive mileage, 400 or 500 miles each day. That will take its toll, over a period of time. Protection from the elements is also going to be another thing as well. Whether you will, be wearing the right equipment, wearing the best quality equipment that you can afford, or whether you're just going to go back old school and find ways to protect yourself from the wind, the cold, the rain, all that kind of stuff. And is it going to be suitable for the ride? But also, is it going to protect you for the after effects as well? No doubt you've been on rides yourselves, a long ride, and then you reach a hotel or your home or your destination or whatever it is, and you're absolutely flat out, and that you're not good for man nor beast. That's what I'm talking about, really. Do you have enough in reserve to be able to still function afterwards? With endurance riding, it's very much you just lay it all on the line, and what you're doing afterwards isn't really a factor. It's what you're doing on the ride that's the most important thing. Can you achieve the distance? Can you survive the conditions? Can you last the time? That's the endurance riding element. It's time, it's distance, and it's conditions as well. But this one has been a tough one, no doubt. I'm pleased with some of the options that I took. I'm pleased that I had the bar mitts on there, because whilst it was basic and old school, I think it still functioned really well. I wasn't so keen with my choice of gloves. I had a few problems with the gloves. So I think, I need to have a thinner but a more more lightweight gloves, but the same thermal qualities of winter weight. So I'm looking at that. I wanted to stay away from heated gloves, and I thought that was the right decision, because not only are you connected to the bike for long distance, you've got to factor in fatigue. You're going to be making mistakes and everything like that at some point. So, you don't want to be disconnecting wires all the time. You don't want to have wires flapping around unnecessarily, especially on these long distance rides. So whilst they are good and whilst they are definitely effective, you've got to be careful on, which ways you use them as well, and how you're going to deal with them. Possibly in the future, yes, I'll go for heated gloves, but on this one, I was still reticent about it. The clothing which I wore, I was actually very happy with that. The one mistake that I did make was that about halfway around, or about a third of the way around, I actually opted to put my two-piece rain suit on as well. And in fact, what I should have done is actually started with that as well, because I was a little bit cold in the morning, and that was playing on my mind a little bit as well. I should have put I should have gone full out with all my layers right from the very start. And I think that's what you've got to do. You've really got to think of the worst case scenario. In terms of my preparation, I thought I prepared as well as I could. I thought I covered all the bases, thought of every little thing that I did. But I think that one of the reasons why I'm suffering now is that my fatigue management wasn't on point. And that's another thing you've really got to factor in for how tired you're going to be and how you're going to deal with it. And also, what decisions are you going to make, whether you're going to continue or whether you're going to stop, whether you're going to rest for longer, a few hours, or whether you're going to cut it back. I had practiced for weeks in advance, or not weeks in advance, a couple of weeks in advance of catnapping, taking 20 minutes or rest periods, rest in my eyes. And what I found was that I should have practiced that more. I should have practiced that a lot more, because I found it difficult to get into sleep and come out of sleep. I was kind of always half in, half out when I had the rest, and it wasn't really restful. So I think I pushed my body to the limit. I had lots of vibrations, lots of noise. Although I was wearing earplugs, I cannot stress enough, wear earplugs on these long distance rides. Yeah, they might not be cool again, but they will protect your ears. But the most important thing, it's not the sound protection. It fends off fatigue, and they're so much better. It cuts out the wind noise, so much better. But there are a few things I would do differently, yes. I would look at fatigue management a little bit more. I would look at clothing that would enable easy access in and out of, let's say for toilet breaks as well, because that's a big issue. I found that I had to reduce the fluid intake to kind of compensate for that. That's another thing as well. Whilst I wasn't so dehydrated, I think the fluid intake wasn't sufficient enough, and that's why I've been struggling as well this week, this last few sort of 10 days or so. You know, there are small little things that you can do to improve your position, but there's also lots of small little things that you can make a mistake and you can reduce your performance or increase your recovery time. And I think that's what I've done. I increased my performance actually on the endurance ride, but I decreased my protection, I suppose, to a certain degree in some quarters, and that's what's increased my recovery time. But I did put, you know, I did cover a lot of miles in a relatively short amount of time, so, you know, that's by the by. I suppose the question is, you know, could I do it again? Yes, I could do it again, but I think I'd want to do another challenge now. On a previous endurance ride, I rode for 24 hours and I did 1,457 miles. I still think there's a lot more miles to be done in a 24-hour straight shot if you're riding just purely motorways, highways. I think 1,700, 1,800 miles is definitely achievable. You know, that kind of thing. But that will be another big test as well. What else can I do? Could I ride in different types of weather conditions, in different types of terrain, for shorter distances? Yeah, no doubt. And I've got a few rides to sort it out, and the videos of that will be coming out soon as well. And I'll be doing a series of rides over the winter in different conditions. But in terms of the actual recovery, yeah, this has taken longer than I thought it would do. I mean, the bike in itself was flawless. I've got to say that, and I've said it in previous videos, and I say, you know my feelings towards it, but I've pushed this bike now to possibly as far as it needed to be pushed, and it was flawless. It didn't miss a beat. In fact, people keep on coming up to me and say, how was the bike? Oh, how was the Harley? Did it let you down? And I'll be like, no, it was absolutely fine. And they're sort of taken aback by it, as if to say, well, but it's a Harley. You should have broken down by now. That's the thing. It hasn't. It's just been brilliant. And it is, okay, yeah, it's a new bike, but you know, the way it performed as a new bike was just brilliant. A lot, I think, in my style of riding, endurance riding, the kind of riding I like to do, this M8 engine is the perfect solution for it. You can do long distance riding, long continuous riding with minimal brakes, and you can still keep on riding because the vibration levels are so much less than the older, you know, engines, of course. But it's been a tough one. It's been a tough one. There are lots of lessons learned. I think, you know, another question came in via the emails and the comments as well. And thanks for all those comments as well that keep on coming in. That's really appreciated. And all those emails, questions as well. But lots of people have been asking, would you do anything differently in the future? Yes, I would. The simple answer to that is yes. Lots of things I would do differently. Lots of things I would do the same. There's a guy who ran the British cycling team, and Sir David Brailsford, which I'm a real big fan of. But essentially, the way they improved the British cycling team in all their different disciplines was to incrementally just make minor improvements, and we're talking fractions of a percent, 1%, 0.5% in lots of different variables, and collectively those minor improvements in lots of variables actually improved the whole team performance or individual performance. So I think I look at it like that. Can I make a little improvement here? Can I cut a little bit of time there? Can I make a tweak to, you know, that a bit of equipment? Now I'm thinking along those lines, or I have been thinking along those lines for the last sort of 2 or 3 years. You know, I certainly think that a lot more can be done. But, you know, it's going to be painful, no doubt. Anyway, so this has been my update, I suppose, in the after effects of a long endurance ride. There's a lot to consider, and there's a lot to prepare for anything like this. And it really depends on how far you're going to push it and how far to your limit you're going to be able to push it, because it is a purely individual thing. It's purely subjective here. But hopefully that gives you an insight of what I've gone through, what I'm going through, and how well the bike has performed as well, but also what you as a rider need to consider as well for these sort of long distance rides. But anyway, hope that was useful. Still struggling here a little bit, but I'll get better soon. Okay, please like, share, subscribe, leave loads of comments below. Let me know what you think about all of that, about long distance riding, endurance riding, or even shorter distances, 400 or 500 miles in one stretch. You know, what do you think of that? What considerations do you have? But anyway, catch you on the next video, whenever that is, and check out the website, RevelatorAlf.com, with all the information there. Cheers now.